Good morning. This is Jovine from Behind the Markets. Happy Wednesday. Today is December 11th, and it is my daughter's 16th birthday. Wow. It's a kind of a big deal. I'm looking forward to taking her out to dinner tonight, us going out to dinner. Today, I wanted to talk to you about Syria. Syria and how the Assad regime collapsed in 13 days and what it has to do with the exciting webinar that we put on yesterday, because they're all related. All of this is related if you look at a big enough map of the world, and it really caught my attention. First of all, the Assad regime collapsed quickly, much quicker than expected, and that's because of two things, basically. Israel's war against Hezbollah and Russia's invasion of Ukraine and our defending of Ukraine, which I know is controversial. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind on that. I get why that's controversial. But remember something. We've been bleeding Russia out in Ukraine, and that's just one of the big benefits. One of our primary adversaries, a country that has been building warships and sending stations up to the Arctic. This is a country that has been sending warships past Japan, that has been sending submarines by London, by England. This is a country that has been playing very aggressively the past 20, 25 years. And they've been playing a very aggressive offense against us and against the global-led order. When they chose to invade Ukraine, it was an opportunity for the people that run this country to bleed them out, basically, to really tie down their resources over here, much like the Soviet Union did to us when we went to Vietnam. We went to Vietnam, and it basically bled us out in Vietnam. It tied down, it pinned us down there. It forced us to push a bunch of resources into Vietnam so that Russia, looking at the rest of the global map, could move into Africa, could move into Greece, could move specifically into the Middle East. We just couldn't have our attention everywhere. Ukraine has done the same thing for Russia. It has basically pinned their attention down in Ukraine, where it leaves them with less of a footprint to make trouble anywhere else for us, including the Middle East. And that is the main reason that the Assad regime collapsed so quickly. Their benefactor, Russia, just couldn't support them anymore like they did before because they're too busy in Ukraine. The other reason that Ukraine has been very good for us, a lot of people say we're spending $50 billion a year there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but that's half true. We are spending $50 billion a year there, but we're spending it on our own weapons manufacturers. Basically, we're paying Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and all these other companies basically to produce weapons. That money that we're spending to help Ukraine is just manufacturing U.S. weapons, creating U.S. jobs. But the bigger thing, the most important thing about Ukraine and why it directly has a lot to do with the webinar that we had yesterday, the amazing webinar that we had yesterday, is Ukraine is really the world's first AI war. When you look at Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, the first business person he met after Russia invaded Ukraine was Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir, basically. So what Ukraine started to do was outfit a bunch of weapons and start to begin to use Palantir's technologies to really understand the battlefield and increase the speed of their kill chains. Now, remember, one of the things that we talked about at the webinar yesterday and that we're really hammering home here, one of these big themes is this is the world's first AI war, meaning that there are a lot of drones, a lot of software being used to identify, target, and kill opponents on both sides. Russia's using it, Ukraine's using it. So it's really, for all the great powers watching this war, the US, China, and Russia, basically, but all the great powers watching it, it's really a good laboratory for us to see which technologies are really going to determine the next battlefield. So this has been a big R&D experiment for the United States. And the great thing is we've been funding our own companies. Again, any $50 billion we pay to fund Ukraine just goes to U.S. companies making these weapons. This has been a terrific R&D experiment for us to really understand what the fourth revolution of warfare, AI warfare, looks like in practice in a battlefield. But remember, the thing that I've been talking about is the more electronic war gets, the more electronic, the more networked war gets, the more communication you're using with satellites like Starlink. This is why Elon Musk is here. The more communication is going between different networked weapons and sensors and satellites. The more information goes, the more you need to be able to compress that information so it moves rapidly. Because remember something, you could have the fastest NVIDIA chip on earth, but if it doesn't move data from point A to point B to point C to point D to point E to point F all around fast, it doesn't matter. So the fastest horsepower NVIDIA chip on earth, if it's not pushing data through these pipes and sharing it in a networked environment fast enough, the fastest chip doesn't matter. So while the chips have raced to get faster, companies like we discussed yesterday in the webinar have raced to create faster communications, faster pipe communications with all this data. So it's like this arms race. NVIDIA creates a faster chip, they need faster movement of data. NVIDIA creates a faster chip, they need faster movement of data. So if you think NVIDIA is going to keep creating fast chips, and if you think networked and AI warfare is the future, then you have to believe that the company we talked about yesterday on the webinar is valuable. And the fact that they're already doing business with the Department of Defense, the fact that they're doing business with the Air Force, the fact that NVIDIA and Intel and all these other folks are partners of theirs. This is why we were so excited to share this with you. So I want to thank you all who attended. I really appreciate you taking time out of your very busy life and very busy schedule to visit with us. And also, I think the marketing team is putting up a replay, so make sure you check that out. Have a wonderful Wednesday.